Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. In today's video I'm going to talk about my book called Electusa, Distraught Feelings and Secrets. Yeah, I just even double checked for you guys to be sure. So I did do a video about my book back in December. Like one day after I uploaded it, took it, made it private. So I'm gonna redo that video. I still have the questions I got from people. So yes. So the first one is, what was the inspiration for the book? I was actually not inspired by my own life, as I know many authors are with their books, and I've actually made a new decision with the second book that will change it entirely. So my inspiration for the book wasn't anything that happened in my life. It was my imagination. So in the second book it will be like based on of my life. So because I wanted it to be more like raw, more feelings. So that will happen. But then my huge inspiration for the book was The Last Airbender, because I know I loved it as a child and I didn't know anything about it until like it was almost done. I was like, oh, it's like Last Airbender. Did you get inspired by The Lord of the Rings? No, I didn't. If you read my book and even read The Lord of the Rings, you know that. Okay, so the only similar thing is like there's a ring with power. It's immensely different in my opinion. How long did it take for you to write the book? So I started October 2000, or was it December? Like very close of 2022 I started, and I literally just in the end of that year wrote like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Just like short points. No really writing until the beginning of the year, and then I wrote the endings. I say myself down with the second book now. I've written the endings, like the major scenes. One of the first book in Electusa, I won't spoil, but a dancing scene. So that was like probably one of the first scenes I wrote. I think it might have been the like first even second, because I wrote like the ending, parts. It's not the entire scene, not the entire chapter, like the bigger things in chapter. And that was good, because that makes me motivated to write more. It's sometimes when I read a book, I will need like a spoiler to want to read more. Something that makes it interesting, like, oh, this will come later. So that works for me. So I wrote, a little bit, but I actually I haven't even written half the book in June 2023. But I wrote more than half, maybe 80% of the book from June to July. I think it was the 5th of July, so beginning of July, so in 1 month I wrote almost a whole book. And I just want to tell you, I sat almost day and night with my book. But I did check how much I wrote on my book during the time as well I had school. And I compare that with famous writers that do writing for a living, because some of them has data on how much they write each day, and I wrote more. But also I know that I can be a quick writer. If I want to, I can write 3,000 words in an hour. I've done that. I did an English essay, and it's quite weird how I did that, and I still do not know how I did that, but 3,000 words in an hour. So that would have taken me 8 months. Right now, I've started writing the second book. I did do that back in July. I wrote like a little bit of the beginning, but that's a different beginning now, because I did a large change now. I don't know which I can just say, instead of having different perspectives in the second book, I started writing it as that. I wrote like 8 chapters, and then I was like, no, I divided it. So you'll get 2 books. Your favorite genre to read? I think it's always been my favorite genre in a way to read is fantasy, because I feel like it's more real. But also, if you think about my favorite books, they are not fantasy. I mean, in a way you could call them supernatural, but definitely not. I do have them here because I'm re-annotating them. But this one is a good book. And these two. So, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Wuthering Heights, The Secret History. Wuthering Heights, you know, I say this one is my favorite, but I noticed I've annotated more in The Picture of Dorian Gray, but I also do feel like when I read this one, and reread it, I feel like this one is more complicated, which is like, in a way I'm more drawn to the book because there's always something new you notice whenever you reread it. With this one, I noticed some things, but not that much more. So these are good books, but these are more like dark in a way. And I was just like sitting yesterday and I was like a little bit down. You know, when you feel like slightly empty and you're just like, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Like my favorite, I like to read this. What does that say about me? But I like it because I feel like it's more complicated. You know, there's the writers that write these, they are good writers. They're really good, brilliant. And I think that's what's appealing for me. Because I love when, you know, there's like, you can read it, think a million different things, and you can see like, okay, one person could see it this way, but they could also see it this way. Just being analytic in a way. I just love that. So fantasy isn't. And you know, one fun fact, I hated writing fantasy. I was so bad at it. And I still feel like I'm bad at it, so it's a bit tricky. But you know, I thought, I need to write fantasy to challenge myself. That's what I did, and somehow it became an entire book, because I reading books, though much smaller ones, when I found out how much it needed to be, how many words for a book, I was just like, okay, I've never written a book before. I just love the impact Latin has. I don't know if I was inspired by Latin from The Secret History, you know, Latin. I just love Latin combos here. But it's also, I just feel like these are very Latin books in a way. If you've read them, you get what I'm saying. If you haven't, and start reading, you'll be like, what does she mean by Latin? It's English. According to me, I'm not a fancy writer. It's that type of imagination isn't really me. I like to write about. It's funny because I don't really like to read about the books today, but it's easier to write about today. I feel like some people probably relate, and those that don't, they don't understand, but some will understand. Have you ever had writer's block? Yeah, I had writer's block. I have had writer's block with the second book. I've had it with the first book. I think I've had it with every book I've written. You know, sometimes you're just like, okay, I want to get here, but I just don't know what I should write to get there. You know, when you start writing a book, that's the hardest. That's when you get most writer's blocks. When it's like almost in the middle, you're just like, I'm not that middle. And then, you know, in the end, because you want to write anything good, then you're just like, it's a lot. So you feel like it comes and goes. But I feel like it's worse than the beginning, because then you're just like, okay, I have these scenes, and I'm here. How am I going to write this? Does Evelyn, Vincent, and Brandon come from similar real life experience? Okay, so you know, Evelyn, the only thing I really took from myself into Evelyn is the overthinking. So in a way, Evelyn was easy to write, because but also she does things that I wouldn't do, so it's a bit, yeah, you know, it's tricky. But you know, I think in every character, without you meaning to do it, you always put a little bit of yourself into it. There will always be some kind of thing about you. The people that write the weakest characters, you know, there must be like something about them. Because if you can write that, you can feel that, because you need to feel it in a way to write it. in a good way, you know. That's why I'm writing more about myself. So I want it more raw, you know, more feelings. So, you know, if I want to write about something that's like, okay, you hate this character, but then also you have experienced it, and if you haven't experienced it, then, you know, there's might be something inside of you that you're like, you could potentially be that person, or if you read aloud about it, you know, you can relate, but you always need to relate at least a little bit to write about it, because if you don't relate, you cannot write it in a good way. That's the thing. I'm planning on writing other books, so in a way I'm really writing 2 books. I have like 10 books kind of as drafts for in books, The Legend of Size. If you're in my Electusa book, you know, I mentioned it, and that's actually, I got some ideas from that when I wrote Electusa, because Legend of Size is like one of those short stories, you know, one of those that was supposed to be a book. I had my plans, supposed to be tragic and sad, and didn't really happen. Will there be a sequel? Yes. In like the Electusa series, there will be 2 more books, but like in the Electusa universe, or Medusa would be, but in the Medusa world, it might be more books. I might release Legend of Size. I need to write it, but I also feel like those stories are more shallow, because I started writing them when I was like, The Legends of Size, how old was I when I started, you know? It's just, I might have been like 12 years old, 13 years old, somewhere like that. So it's a bit, you know, the writing isn't that good, and it's also, you know, I thought about it with Electusa, you know, if I should change a lot in the book. Because, you know, when I was rereading it, I was like, gonna release it, I was like, okay, but I want to kind of change that, I want to change that, I want to change that. But I've had one person read it, and, you know, they didn't comment it, so I felt like, okay, but wouldn't it be nicer, you know, when you can see my development from this book and then to my other books, because, you know, in a way, it isn't that describing, it isn't that explaining, it isn't that deep. And that's, I knew it wasn't that deep, and I was just like, it's missing the deepness, and I feel like you might not notice it if you're reading it, but, you know, me as an author, I know I didn't bleed, you know, when I wrote this book. I didn't, sometimes when I write a book, you know, it just physically hurts you in a way, because, you know, you're pouring yourself, you're taking parts of you that's hurt, that like might be trauma, that might be, and you put that into the book, you know, it hurts when you write about it, because it hurts you. You have to feel the hurt to really write hurt good, and that's why it's a bit complex, you know. Those really good books, what we think about, I do not know much about Donna Tartt's life, so I cannot say much about like those, but I know about Oscar Wilde and Emily Bronte. I know that they had difficult lives, and their writing is brilliant, I just have to say that, so there might be something in it. I just feel like, you know, it's just how I think and how I personally feel like it's better, you know, everyone likes different, but I just feel like when you really burn for something, it gets better, you know. If I really burn for the book, if I really bleed, it will become better. But I gotta do that. So if you see me in some depression era now, soon in the summer, I guess I'm going to write about things that might be in my life as that very difficult, so I'm gonna rip open all the wounds. Describe the book with 3 words. Okay, that's like so much how you think of it. Okay, so if I'm just like, the genres, or should I? Betrayal. It's also like my subtitle, Distraught Feelings and Secrets, you know, that's betrayal, distraught feelings and secrets. No, but I gotta do 2 different, I feel like. So betrayal, overthinking, You know, I want to say drama, but I really hope I can say drama, and you guys, if you've read it, that you'll feel it. Because, you know, I feel like I feel like everyone loves drama as long as you're not in drama. What's the meaning behind the title? So I was first thinking about naming it Selected, but then I was just like, I feel like it would be a bit wrong. Because I feel like I've in the past said that my favourite book was The Selection. So, you know, it would be like The Selected, The Selection. I like The Selection, and now I'm writing a book called The Selected. You know, it's not the same thing. My book isn't really about princesses and a man finding his wife. Now I'm making The Selection sound too shallow. I do like it. It was actually so interesting when I read it, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 years ago, because I read it when I was, like, younger, and then I was, like, reading it when I was a little bit more mature, and, you know, it's like, this character I thought was flawless, in a way, and now all I see is red flags. That was a bit, which is also, when I reread books, you know, those kind of, you know, for young people, you know, as I just find it a bit more cringe, and I can say when I read it, it's like every time I've read it, I'm just like, oof, no, I want to throw it away in a way. Wait, it's kind of like good, right? Can you just, okay, I know I'm not good at frisbee. One time it almost went back, it was just like, boom, almost back in my head. Like, don't even start with me in basketball, you know, I break my nails, and one time I was trying to make a goal. I was shooting it up, and it came right back on my nose. Me and sports are best friends, you know. No, but really not. The only sport I'm kind of good at is like equestrian, because I like equestrian. No, it's a bit different, you know. But I'm not a sports girl, you know. I feel like, though I'm actually kind of okay at badminton, and like, badminton is also a sport I'm okay with. Did you wish that you wrote a bit longer? Oh shit, the book's flying here. Okay, so in a way, when I read the ending, I feel like the ending is rushed. But in a way, I also feel like the ending wasn't rushed. So, you know, I had like a little bit mixed thoughts about the ending of the book. And I'm getting actually really good feedback from one person reading my book, but they are unfortunately a little bit slow in reading the book. They got it back in December, I think, even before the release date. And they still haven't finished the books. You know, I can read a book with this many pages in 3 hours. Okay, we're not gonna talk about how fast I read the Shatter Me series. That was quite crazy. I read 11 books in 2 days. It was directly, you know, I was like, okay, I've written a book. I'm so tired. I'm buying a Shatter Me series, you know, because it's like 1,000 crowns, and it's like, it's expensive, but I own it. I own it. What do you say? You know, I felt like I deserved it. So I did that. Why did you want to become an author? I do not know. Well, to be honest, I don't really. When I was younger, I remember I always wrote short stories. And, you know, I was also like, I think it was when I really started reading, because I read the selection, I read the selection, and I wrote I'm just too much I'm so tired, it's late. Like, I read the selection, and I read the whole Hunger Games, and I was like, reading? What's reading can be good if I'm motivated? That was crazy. But then, you know, as I started reading more, it's like, I don't know, I just kept getting, you know, some like scenarios in my head. I was like, oh man, that happened, you know, my story is like, I know, stories just popped in my head, like, this could happen, you know, my imagination just, ooh, what if I write a book, you know? But I did also, like, you know, I wrote a little bit, but I didn't think it would become a book. I'm spoiling it because I said, like, you know, like, I released one book. Or have I? Might release more. I feel like I'm just spoiling it. And I hope some people aren't watching because I did not want to say those books' names. But, like, I was young. They aren't good. Yeah, so I did write a little bit, and I was like, if, like, when I really want writer, no, offer, writer, but that was with this book. I was like, I'm gonna try to write a book, and, you know, I don't know how, but I just kept myself motivated, and I wrote a book. I remember I got from one more famous publisher that my book was exceptionally well for someone in my age, and it was like really good writing from someone ready to keep it up, and I would love to hear from me in the future. So now that's like, okay. But I have actually not got any negative feedback from my book, and I'm just like, you know, I feel like I'm sitting here waiting for it. And, you know, I think I've realized it actually lately, like, I did say it in one of those Denmark videos, said it when I was in Denmark, that are now listed, like, where was it, 2 weeks ago? I talked about psychology, and I said, like, I think it was my motivation in psychology to be, and I said, most people, when it goes good, they give themselves credits, and when it goes bad, they blame others. And I just felt like I am the opposite. If I don't feel like I did everything, you know, it's just, if I didn't do my best and I'm aware of it and it went good, and I just feel like I'm not deserving of it, my book might be good. And I've got good reviews, but I just still feel sitting here and, like, thinking, when is the bad reviews coming? You know, your greatest wish to have when you were younger. I mean, that really depends. And, you know, if when I was like 5 years old, when I was 10 years old, when I was 12, when I was 12, I have succeeded. When I was like 10, I wanted to become a singer, you know, famous. When I was 5, I have no idea what I want to become. In a way, I think I've always wanted to become famous, to be remembered. I think they said in one book, could it be The Fault in Our Stars? And they say, like, I can see if I can find this, put it. Is there something you have knowledge to write about want? I remember my answer when I first recorded this video, and that was, yes, but I won't do it. And now it's, yes, I will do it. If I want to be a writer, I have to give it my all. That's just life. Which month this year was the hardest for you and the writing for your book that month? This year was February. How do I pronounce it? February. The second month of this year. I know how to pronounce in every language I've heard, I know, but somehow English popped out. Last year, when I got these questions last year, I think October maybe was a bit. No, November. I did not write in November. And now the second month of this year, wrote a little, but it's more based off last year, so it's a bit. Second month of this year, I think I would pay every money I have in my bank account not to relate that month. So, that was all the questions. I'm gonna get into a good moment here. buy my book. I think it's good. So thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.